Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In this episode we're going to be taking another look at the Siemens PCD5T Pentium 60 machine. And this time I didn't decide to install something like Windows 95 or Windows NT, but I opted for SCO Unix. So this is the SCO OpenServer 5.0.7, which is currently running on this machine. I'm just going to go through the steps that I took to get to this point, because it wasn't all that easy. Because here's the state of the desk while I was installing the thing. So notice a couple of things. The front panel came off. I decided to remove the tape drive but stopped halfway. Needed to replace the disk drive because that one broke. Needed to upgrade the memory of this PC, which has 16 megabytes of RAM, and although the installer does detect it having 16 megabytes of RAM, it just ends up failing with this very cryptic error message, meaning that you need to upgrade your memory. And it was very picky in terms of what memory it would accept. I tried a whole bunch of different modules. These are the original 4x4 megabytes of RAM that came out of the machine, but I tried a whole bunch of them to upgrade it to 32, but yeah, it just wouldn't boot until finally I found 2 sticks of RAM that upgraded the memory to 32 megabytes of RAM, something which is needed for this SCO OpenServer install. Moving along, I also added a CD-ROM drive because we are going to be installing SCO OpenServer from a CD-ROM, which is very convenient. I decided to go for the Quantum Fireball SCSI drive, which did have a lot of bad sectors, but seems to be installing just fine now. And here we have the SCSI hard drive cemetery here. Lots of broken hard drives, unfortunately. And we also have an assortment of cards. I wanted to install a networking card also, so I have a Novell NE2000 card here. I removed the serial card, and I think I might give the video adapter also an upgrade. But for now, it is busy installing, so we're going to see where this takes us. Now, my initial plan was to go ahead and install the original version that came with the machine, which is SCO Unix System V 386 Release 3.2 version 4.2. And I happened to found an ISO image on archive.org. So this was basically the exact same version that I needed. Now, I actually do have a boxed copy of SCO Unix, and this actually came in a lot larger box with lots of documentation, but I just kept all of the disks. But unfortunately, this version is a little bit too old for this video. I might give it another try on another PC. I don't know if I have all of the disks, so that will need some investigation, but yeah, this was a whole package of SCO Unix disks, 3.5 inch as well as 5.25 inch disks. So yeah, might require a separate video to look into those to see what's on all of these disks. Now, unfortunately, whoever uploaded this ISO image did something wrong with it, because this isn't an ISO image at all. Now, archive.org has the ability to browse through these ISO files, but it wasn't able to do it, and I wasn't able to use it even in a virtual machine or something. So definitely something was wrong with this ISO. But I mean, there are other options here on archive.org. For example, this compact labeled SCO OpenServer 3.0. But this ISO image was also a little bit strange, as it contained a floppy boot image and another CD-ROM image, which in turn, again, wasn't an ISO image at all. Now, it's a lot easier to find a valid ISO image for later versions of SCO Unix. For example, this SCO OpenServer version 5 is in fact a valid ISO image. Now, this is version 5.0.5. Now, on WinWorld, you can find SCO Unix System V Release 3.2 version 4.2, but it's the floppy-based install. So this is about 40 plus floppy disks, and I didn't really feel like creating 40 floppy disks. So I did do the install on VirtualBox. I might make another video on that. But for this install on the Siemens PC, I decided to go for OpenServer version 5. Now this version of OpenServer 5 comes with a bootable CD-ROM, but my PC isn't capable of booting from the CD-ROM, so I had to use an install disk, which is included on the CD-ROM. So I booted with the disk. Here I'm using VirtualBox to kind of show you the steps of installing OpenServer 5. I didn't have my capturing device ready on the PC, but it's very simple. You basically need to input your keyboard layout, a license key, whether you want to do a fresh installation, provide some names, time zones. You can set up your hard drive to enable bad tracking. You can install optional software. You can detect your networking card. So it kind of reminds you of a Linux-based installation. So you just need to fill in a couple of options, and then it will basically just start installing itself. It will start by formatting and checking your hard drive, preparing the file system, and then start copying the files from the CD-ROM onto your hard drive. So to show you that I did in fact install this on real hardware, let's switch over to the PC now. So at the moment I only have the Quantum Fireball and the Sony CD-ROM drive hooked up to the Adaptec SCSI card. The actual install took a very long time. It took over 4 hours, which might seem strange for a 300 to 400 megabyte OS install. But yeah, I don't know how the Quantum Fireball is actually holding up, because it did contain a lot of bad sectors the last time I did an MS-DOS format. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it didn't complain during the install at all. It just went to 100%. And at the end, it's kind of wrapping up. It's copying some files, extracting some files, doing some validations, but yeah, no complaints from the hard drive whatsoever. And finally, we reached this screen here where it basically said that the SCO OpenServer desktop system is completely installed. So here we get some information on how to register the software, how to install additional software, and how we should wrap things up now, as it is safe to power off or reboot the machine. So I was pretty happy with that. But after a 4-hour install and a reboot, this is the last screen that you want to see. No boot device available. Now, a power cycle of the machine resulted in something different. So here we see the machine booting up again. We get the SCO OpenServer Release 5 boot screen. So hitting enter here and it will load up the OS. So it's loading the kernel module, and then we get this nice little summary here with some hardware information. So what we're seeing here is that we are running kernel version 3.2. It has detected our Pentium PC, 60 megahertz. It has found 2 serial ports. It has found our SCSI adapter, which is the ALAD driver here, running at IRQ 10. It has found our CD-ROM, our Quantum hard drive, and it's basically booting up now and prompting us to hit Control D to continue with a normal startup. We need to specify the time, and it will continue launching the operating system. So this is fast forwarded times 2. It did take a little bit of time to load up all the services, and then it is starting the SCO login. Now the SCO login is kind of a graphical user interface allowing you to log into the system and then entering a kind of Windows style desktop. But that didn't work. I got input not supported, and I tried different monitors and I always got the same error message. I could log into a terminal. If you hit Control F1 or F2 or F3, you can get into different text-based terminals, and there I was able to log in with my root user and password, but the graphical SCO login didn't work. So what I wanted to do was to replace the existing ISA video card that was in the computer, this Cirrus Logic 16-bit ISA card, with a more appropriate one. Now this PC originally came with this Cirrus Logic because it wasn't meant to do any graphical work, but as we're going to be running a graphical user interface right now, it's better to have a beefier card. Hence this Matrox MGA Athena chip here on this compact card together with a Cirrus Logic RAM DAC chip. This is a terrible MS-DOS or Windows card. It's very slow, but I think it would fit this kind of Unix workstation style setup perfectly. So we're going to be using that one. So time to pop this into an available PCI slot in the PC and see how it goes. So after replacing the Cirrus Logic ISA video card with the compact Matrox PCI video card, we got the SCO login page, and we were able to log in and load up the SCO OpenServer desktop. And here it is. Now at first glance, it doesn't appear to look really crisp. I'm guessing this has something to do with the video card, but it is nice to see a different look and feel when comparing it to Windows 95 or Windows NT or even Linux. I mean, this has a very, specific Unix feel to it. But we are going to look into seeing if we can bump up the resolution a bit and see if we can improve this Windows system. And for that, we need to go into the Video Configuration Manager in the System Administration folder. Now, as you can see, the current video adapter is set to this IBM VGA card, which is a kind of a standard VGA driver running at 640 by 480, only 16 colors. Now, if we modify this, it will automatically detect and search for any video adapters which are installed in the system. And in our case, it is the compact Matrox video card that we have. And it has successfully auto-detected this as a compact QVision 2000 Matrox Impression PCI graphics adapter. So we're going to be installing this one. And after setting the correct resolution and color, we can reboot the system. And we immediately see that the resolution has been bumped up. And we now get a really nice looking, crisp user interface with the new video card. So this is really nice. Now I'm just going to give you guys a really quick tour of some of the stuff that I found here. So this came with Netscape Navigator 4.7. It's always nice to see this one back again. Unfortunately, I don't have a networking card installed or configured right now, so that will have to wait for another video. What else do we have here? We have some accessories here. Let's open that one up. So we've got an alarm. Notice how the icons change when you click on them, so that's a really nice touch. We have a clock. We have a calculator. We have a calendar. And we have some good looking icons that change as soon as you click on them. For example, here this root file system, the drawer kind of opens as you click on it. The Unix terminal changes as you load up a Unix terminal. The account manager has a nice little animation as you click on it. The mounting of the CD also. We have multiple desktops. So we have the SCO Panner here, which gives you 4 virtual desktops. And programs which are minimized end up in this tray here on the right bottom side, so that's also nice. So now that we know that everything works, let's put everything back into the PC. And what I want to have is not only the hard drive and the CD-ROM drive, but I want to have the CD-ROM drive and the tape drive and the original hard drive that came with the PC and the Quantum Fireball that we used to do the actual installation. So 4 SCSI devices. Now to hook them up, we're going to be using this long cable that came with the PC and which is hooked up to this Adaptec card. And take a note at the orientation of this SCSI connector here. So normally you would kind of hook them up like so, because this is the way that these kind of connectors are orientated. Now at the end of the SCSI cable here, we're going to be hooking up a hard drive and we're going to be terminating that hard drive. Because if you're hooking up multiple devices on a SCSI adapter, you need to provide proper termination on the devices. So we're going to do that on the end of this cable on the hard drive. And we're going to be using the rest for the tape drive and the CD-ROM drive. Now I am going to be hooking it up like so because I don't want to twist the cable too much. So this is going to be the configuration that we're going to have. So the CD-ROM drive here, tape drive, and to 2 hard drives, and the bottom one here will be terminated. So let's take a look at all of these SCSI devices. So let's start with the Sony CD-ROM. So here on the top cover we get a nice little layout here which explains the different jumpers on the back. So let's take a look at them. Now the one on the left here, which is the furthest away from the SCSI connector, is the active termination. So this drive is currently terminated, so we're going to be removing that jumper because we're going to put the termination on the actual hard drive and not the CD-ROM drive. Now the first 2 jumpers are ID4 and ID2, so that will assign it SCSI ID6 to the CD-ROM drive. Next up we have the tandem tape drive. So I'm guessing that this one was terminated because it was originally hooked up to the PC along with the hard drive, and the hard drive wasn't terminated. Now I'm probably not going to be using this tape drive, but I do find it pretty cool, so I'm going to leave it in the PC, and if I ever find a tape that goes in it, I will definitely try it out. But for now I'm just going to be removing this termination jumper here. I have the impression that the label here doesn't really correspond to the data that I found online, because it was supposed to be another jumper, but for now I have put this tape drive so without termination, and I have given it ID number 2. As far as the hard drives are concerned, so the bottom one is a Quantum Fireball. I have terminated that one and I have assigned it SCSI ID 0, and the one on top of that is the Connor hard drive, which has failed, but I'm going to be trying to read out the data from that drive in another video, and that one has been assigned ID number 1. So let's put the hard drives back into the case, put the front panel back on now that we have both the tape drive and the CD-ROM drive, and then boot our newly installed SCO Unix OpenServer 5.0.7 on this gorgeous Siemens PC. So it will initially start its boot process in text mode, and then it will end up with this graphical user interface allowing you to type in your username password before entering the OpenServer desktop environment. So that's it for now. I will be exploring the operating system a little bit further by see if I can set up networking and perhaps try and install an older version, but for that I still need to find a proper ISO file. So as always, if you like this video, please consider liking it, subscribe to the channel if you're into this type of content, hit the notification bell to be notified of any new videos, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye bye.